You mentioned motive. Would you say that it seems like every genocide has a reason? It's obviously never justified, but the people doing it find a way to justify it, in their own mind. Would you say that their justification has to do with wanting the Uyghur population to be committed first and foremost to the Chinese government, and they see them as a threat because they're not loyal? Would you say that's how they are rationalizing this?
Yes, the Chinese government consistently, repeatedly claiming that they are de-radicalizing the Uyghur population because the Uyghurs are Islamic extremists, and they are a threat to the society, to the people there. But if you look at the history of the Uyghurs, and you know that the incidents that happened even in recent years compared to the many other countries, many Muslim countries, or even the West, is not as serious as what Chinese government claim. And even if there was some so-called terrorist attacks that happened, of course, we completely denounce any kind of violence. Uyghur people are very peaceful people. Since the Chinese occupation, especially the latest CCP, Chinese Communist Party occupation in 1949, throughout during the last 71 years, actually many massacres happened, one after another, from 1958, the rightist movement, then during the Cultural Revolution, and then in the 80s, the Baran massacre, the Ghoja massacre, in 1997. That is one of the events that I made a decision to leave my country in 2000. When you look at the level of the persecution and the oppression that Uyghurs faced, since the CCP occupation, and then you look at the resistance and any kind of fight back or attacks, it is uncomparable. It's just impossible to compare the amount of people, the amount of innocent Uyghurs were killed during these last 71 years, and then especially recent years, since China declared that 9/11, that they also share the Islamic terrorist problems. But nothing can justify a country round up over a million or 3 million people into these torture camps, because we know it is torture camps, from the teachers who taught in these facilities, also some survivors who were foreign nationals and was released after serving 1 year or several months. And the description of the torture, the abuse, and the situation, the crowdedness, and sterilizations, sexual violence, all this is so consistent because these people didn't come from one region. They all served or detained in camps in very different part of the region. And it looks like the whole system is following a certain rules from the authorities. And only last year, November, that there was two major classified documents leaked, and that those leaked documents confirmed all what we have been hearing from people. So it is the intention of the Chinese government is to eradicate, is to eliminate the Uyghur people. They are not only after the people who they think or who they claim to be radicalized, but the people, just Uyghur people, intellectuals. We know among these millions that has been detained, very well-known intellectuals, artists, sports persons, models, religious scholars who have been openly teaching in the authorized institutes and also serving as imam in the communities. All of them gone, including some very well-known philanthropists who built schools for Uyghur children who couldn't afford to go to the state schools. And they were taken away, and we learned that the sentence that they received were over 20 years, some given suspended death penalties. Four Uyghur University, ex-university presidents, two of them were given 2 years suspended death penalties, and we don't know what happened to them. So this is not, it's impossible to justify that China's government only using these facilities just to do some kind of vocational training or de-radicalizing the extremists. Only 2-3 days ago, the Chinese white paper, they openly admitted that since 2014, they have been providing vocational training to the Uyghurs, each year 1.3 million people.
What's that what training?
They call vocational training. 1.3 million Uyghurs each year.
Vocational training.
Yeah, that's what they call vocational training.
As if they're just teaching them different trades and stuff.
Well, they say that they are teaching them the Chinese language and also rule of law. So they, their propaganda is that how they actually providing this kind of free education for these people who stay in those facilities where food and accommodations are free. But we know from the people who were detained in these facilities, who taught in these so-called vocational training camps, that it's just a horror. What is happening there is one of horror. If you ever read any of those reports, you would know.